Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for attending tonight. We'll call it the September 22nd, 6:30 PM. Meeting of the Willington, Connecticut Economic Development Commission to order. So, and then this first order of business, welcome everyone. First order of business is public participation. There's no one here in the room. Any public participation online? Going once, going twice. No public participation. Let's talk about the first thing on our agenda. We want to try and make it through fairly quickly today. Working people here and they work all day, so we're trying to move along fast. Economic Development Commission, strategic plan. And we want to talk a little bit about two issues. The commission outreach, so I think we talked about presenting this to our findings and our path forward to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen and also to the public itself. So we presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission at their August meeting. August meeting. Yeah. Were in general agreement with most of the issues. They had some advice and some suggestions for us. So I think the next step would be to go to the Board of Finance. We have a problem with scheduling for their next meeting, which I believe is on the 16th. I have a conflict on October 16th. I'm not gonna be able to do that. If you guys want to move forward, that's fine. Going once, going twice. Nope, not gonna happen. So, we can try and do this during our regular meeting. They have, the Board of Finance has a meeting on 10:20, excuse me, the Economic Development Commission has a meeting on 10:27. You can invite them. I don't know whether or not they, the Board of Finance would react positively and attend, or whether or not they would skip it, or, you know, I think it's important that we get input from as many people as we can.
Yeah, I'd rather present it at their meeting.
And I would too.
Yeah.
Um,
What do you think of that?
Yeah, you can get somebody to go, but it's better to be able to go there if you can. We're running out of date options though.
When's their meeting in November?
In November, so October is the 16th, November is the 20th. Regular meetings.
So how about we do Board of Selectmen first,
That's good.
and then we'll do the Board of Finance in November.
Yeah, and one's board and, well, we could do both. I can get us on board. So we meet twice a month, so I can get us on board, so looking fairly quickly. I don't know exactly when. I mean, let's see here. Hold on.
No, it's got me, we've all got jobs and we've got things to do. And I know I have a very busy October with the family.
I can try, can we pencil in October 20th for Board of Selectmen?
10:20.
Yeah. Mike, does that work for you? Mike, too, does that work for you?
I think it does.
So that's October 20th, Board of Selectmen. I'll see if I can get us on the schedule. So that's tentative.
See if we can get the Board of Finance for November 20th.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah, I'd rather have the whole group there. Sure there'll be some good input.
agreed.
They're not shy.
Right.
That's good.
Implementation table review. I actually have not reviewed that since our last meeting. Has anybody reviewed it since the last meeting?
What's that?
The implementation table review and
Yeah.
at the very end?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gone over now.
Yeah.
Fine, trees don't. It's a lot to do.
Yeah, there's a lot to do. I think the key there is just simply starting and getting moving. And the first two items there, if I remember correctly, are public outreach and presenting to the different boards. So
Right, yeah.
I think that's for this fall.
My little.
Right, and then there's one item also after that for this fall. What is that? Do you know?
late fall, public presentation of EDC
Yeah.
strategic plan.
Yeah.
We've already,
Yeah. So the next one would be, revisit SDZ, we can discuss that, and then, develop a list of regional and commercial brokers, as well. So that's kind of desk work that we can be doing.
more we do on that, right?
And yeah, and I think at this point, since you're in the process of presenting the. The plan to various agencies, we really don't wanna be amending it anymore, so I think as it stands right now, it's pencils down. If Board of Finance has some really extreme reaction to why didn't you include this, or we hate that, then there may be amendments that can be made.
Yeah.
At this point, I think it sits in its current state, at least that was my takeaway from the last meeting, because we're in between.
It would be prudent if we could do that, when we knew what the status of the SDZ regulations were.
Would you agree? You'd have to talk to P and Z and about how to best make those amendments. The P and Z could. Well, you could propose the amendments again, sort of how it was started initially, and then kick it over to P and Z for review.
I think that would be the strategy, and we talked about that in our last presentation, to them, they were amenable and favorable.
Yeah.
I didn't hear any negative feedback.
No,
No, that's.
I'll work with Mike on the list. Commercial brokers, just to get a better feel for how it's worked out. I'd like to go to school.
I don't know if I can take you to school, but we can figure something out.
But I'll, you can put my name next to that.
anything else on, economic development strategic plan, you guys all set? I'm all set. All right,
Yeah, one point of order. I'm going to approach Desiato's new
Yeah.
owner.
Yeah.
And get a status with regards to where she's at on that property. You okay, everybody's cool with that?
Yeah. When are you gonna do that?
Probably we got the next. I'll tell you what, I'll see first of all, she's
Yeah.
amenable to it.
Yeah.
And then, she'll more than likely like to meet up here. Just, and she, from what I understand, she's happy in town, so I'll let you know.
That's good, we'll try and make it happen. Okay, good. Okay, and then, next one is tax stabilization ordinance, so this is moving forward, which is really great. Matt, can you put this up on the screen for us? I thought it'd be a good idea to go through this, at this juncture, at this point. We're leading into our town meeting, on the 30th. So, various ordinances will be, proposed for adoption, the call, for that town meeting is in the paper. So a lot of ordinance changes that were suggested by the state of Connecticut to bring our ordinances up to date. And also this, tax stabilization ordinance for Willington. So, is it possible to make that any bigger or anything?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
You can collapse the ribbon. You can go into, what do you call it, mode, presentation mode.
Sir, I'm sorry, Matt, is the meeting for this on September 30th? Is that what you said?
Yes,
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Town meeting on September
Yeah,
30th is
sorry,
for
right.
this and codification.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
Is that a town hall?
yeah, the old town hall. Yeah. You make it like?
I'm gonna be there.
because I gotta speak to the codification stuff. Peter wants me to, I guess. I pulled the short straw. P and Z's part is done, but I guess he wants me there if there's questions about ordinances.
If you can, that's great. If not, don't worry about it. It's good.
It's the 5th Tuesday, so there's no meeting overlaps.
So yeah, this, the first page is a summary of, general statutes 1265B, which is the statute that enables the town to implement a tax stabilization for commercial property. So, what this does, it allows the municipality to enter into written agreements fixing or phasing in the assessed value of commercial property. So that's an agreement beforehand. This prevents sudden increases in taxes after the construction or improvements, and it helps both the business and the town manage the future risk of commercial tax revenue and expenses, making towns more attractive for investing. We covered a little bit of this in our letter to the Board of Selectmen that we wrote. That's in here too, so we'll go over that last. The statute applies to property used for manufacturing, warehousing, research, wholesale, or similar commercial properties or purposes. It also applies to agriculture. Agreements must be written and specify the property and terms. Law's goal is to promote economic development, job creation, and grant this growth without deterring business through abrupt tax increases. Local ordinances adopted under 1265B established the framework for these stabilization agreements. The next page is a graph. I tried to do this, I hope it's good enough, but the blue line, and this is an example of. Yeah, it's an example of, I actually used that battery thing, where what I remember, what I recall from the battery project is gonna be happening in town. If we do, traditionally, this value of the tax income per year will decrease from 120,000 in year one down to zero or something close to or approximating zero. And again, this is conceptual, but something approximating zero in year 20. I'm not exactly sure what that specific example is. Maybe that's longer, maybe it's shorter, but this is the idea of what happens. And under tax stabilization, the red line, that would be, you would get $60,000 every single year. So what you're doing is you're foregoing, this right here, the upfront money a little bit, and then you're collecting it at the end. And as I said, when we debated this in Board of Selectmen, the only cost, and it's so minimal, it's a rounding error, but is the time value of money. Because the money that you're foregoing has a time value, and interest rates and stuff. So it's not an abatement. The business pays every penny of tax. Hi.
Hello there.
The difference is they pay the same amount every year, not a declining amount every year. So. And again, this is a 20-year example. I could have done 30 or 15, and it's up to the Board of Selectmen to negotiate. So that's an example of what it is. And I just want to underline again, it's not an abatement and we're not forgiving anything. So that's that. The advantages and disadvantages of tax stabilization from the town perspective, I don't want to go through each of these. I can read them off, but you can read them just as well as I can on the screen. But for the town, this improves our competitiveness with nearby towns that are already offering incentives, encourages significant business investment, and boosts our brand list over time. It signals that we're open for business, and enhancing our reputation as a pro-growth location. Potential to enhance and diversify the tax base and reduce long-term reliance on residential property taxes. And long-term economic development through strong commercial presence in town.
The other thing that it does is it protects developments from future potential legislation.
Yeah.
So the town enters into a contract and then the state decides that solar energy or green energy is exempt from taxation.
Yeah.
Town has a contract with that property and those taxes will continue to come in.
Yeah. The contract will be the controlling document, not the amended, because,
And if the business itself is successful.
Yeah.
And expand. It does not affect with the expansion. I mean, there'd be additional taxes, they put up another building.
Yeah.
So it's basically as it got started, this is the agreement.
Yeah.
Which is what we want to be successful.
The disadvantages from our perspective is the short-term reduction in tax revenues compared to full assessment. We don't collect every penny up front or in year one. We're going slightly in order to even out that income stream. Creates perception of unequal treatment. I mean, some folks could go and say, well, how come I didn't get it? That could happen. I mean, we're honest here. I mean, there are a few downsides.
Yeah.
There's administrative complexity. I've talked to our assessor and she indicates that she's done these before and feels comfortable with it. Could limit the town's financial flexibility, if agreements are poorly structured. This is something that I'm very concerned about. And although I think our current board is well situated to be able to do that, you never know what happens in the future and the caliber of the board and things like that. So I would say that it would behoove us as a board of selectmen that I serve on to develop a policy about how we're going to do this.
Guidelines
Yeah,
that
guidelines.
the following boards would follow. This is kind of what Willington wants for the guidelines, and if we're willing to do this, here they are.
Yeah.
So it's just followed, so the town's got an idea.
Yeah, and then when we dust it off 7 years from now, everybody's gone, they can go, oh, look at that. Here's the roadmap.
I think the other thing that's important to keep in mind is that this is a stabilization of non-existent future tax payments.
Yeah.
FedEx does not come in and say, well, we'd like to stabilize, because there's
No.
nothing to stabilize. They are assessed a value and they pay on it.
Yeah.
This is us taking a piece of property that may be paying $100 a year, recognizing that that investment is gonna generate $60,000 in taxes a year, and we're stabilizing the difference between the two. So there's no loss in tax revenue, because this is only based upon new taxes to be generated.
Yeah.
That baseline stays the same, which is essentially the real estate, right? There's nothing there, it's dead parcel.
Look at the guy with the truck wash that wants to come to town, and the amount of money he's putting into that building and the equipment, what he told us, it was all worth. If something like this had been offered to him, because we were trying to see if there was any more development he could do on that specific site to promote for other businesses to come, maybe he would be in lieu of doing something even larger scale to try to utilize, since he's already going through all this. So nothing exists at this point,
Right.
So, but he's still willing to, try to come to town and make an investment, so.
Yeah,
He's assuming the risk.
and again, we'll go over this in more detail, but there's nothing here that says that we must do this. It's selective and it's completely the discretion of the board of selectmen. Don't want to do it, don't like the business, don't do it. And there was no positive, affirmation or affirmed, path that says you must do this. So, in any event,
I can imagine with the amount of town have it in place already, that there's some boilerplate agreements that we could use as guidelines, right?
I reviewed those.
You can get some of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Some places don't like to give them up.
Yeah.
There's some proprietary stuff in there.
From the business perspective, there are advantages and disadvantages of tax stabilization, implementation from the business perspective as well. The advantages are it's predictable property liability set for a set period, reducing financial risk and expansion. This helps a lot with financing, a lot. You go in, you can present your business plan, and your business plan is a contractual, agreed upon tax rate. And that removes a lot of risk, and that makes it very advantageous. Banks hate risk. They're in the business of making money on risk, but they hate it. So this is taking one of those risk things away. Improves cash flow during the early years of investment when expenses are high, and provides competitive advantage compared to locating the town without incentive, and encourages investments in facilities, equipment, and operations. Capital investments feed economic growth, feed jobs, and are very helpful. So the disadvantages, agreements maybe have conditions. We're not talking about any of this. We wouldn't have conditions. So there wouldn't be any performance things other than you're going to build what you said you're going to build. And we're going to tax you the way we're going to tax you. It's asset based, not performance based. And tax benefits are temporary. Future tax increases may occur after stabilization period ends. May create dependency on incentives for decision-making rather than underlying market strength, potential reputation risk. If the public perceives the business as receiving special treatment, again, it's just a perceptual thing. And, people have their opinions, and then negotiations may be lengthy and uncertain, so we should talk, they would like to probably see this done quickly. If you can turn to the next page, this is a map of the 20, I think it's 20 or maybe 22 I don't wanna count them up right now, municipalities that have adopted tax stabilization ordinance, since 1265B was passed in 2024. They range from, small towns like Griswold and East Haddam to, Oxford and, Middletown, and things like that. So, and this is since 2024, so essentially a year and a half or 2 years, you got 20 adoptees. This is, the next one is just a list, and it shows a little bit about, what they're doing, and a little bit about, one liner about what the program is. I thought that would be helpful. The next one, this is a description of the process that we went through here in Willington. So we had at least 17 discussions, I guess 17 discussions about adopting tax stabilization in Willington. By the Economic Development Commission and the Board of Selectmen. So, I mean, it could be, some of these were updates, oh yes, nothing happened. But it was on the agenda and was discussed or talked at least a little bit about 17 times. Some of them were substantial, some of them were just updates. The tax stabilization ordinance proposed was attached to the August, one of the meeting minutes in August 2025. Another one in September 2025, and to the agenda for a board of selectmen meeting in 2025. So it's been around for a long time. I was getting frustrated about how long that. We all have day jobs, and getting in touch with a lawyer and going through the different drafts and stuff was kind of difficult. The last thing is the letter that our board here agreed to send to the Board of Selectmen recommending the tax stabilization for Willington. This has some of the same things that we just talked about in the advantages and disadvantages section of this presentation. One of the key things in here that was not listed in the table, which Mike mentioned, was that there can be no legal problems here regarding valuations. Well, that's too blanket. We are covering ourselves with asset valuation. So a lot of times, we had this happen apparently a couple of years ago. FedEx appealed a decision regarding assessing property inside their building. And we had to incur legal fees to defend our decision to tax at a certain rate. We lost. So we had to spend the money and we lost. And we didn't get what we thought it was worth. Using tax stabilization for larger developments like this would mean that it would be agreed on beforehand. They can't sue us. Or if they can, we now have a contract, and their contract would have to be nullified first before they can. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I just thought at this point it would be helpful to provide a little bit of context and a little bit of description about what this is. Mike, can you do me a favor? Can you post this in our minutes? This is the statute itself.
Add the proposed ordinance
Yeah, the proposed ordinance, yes.
to the minutes.
Yeah. So when this posts, I'll send you a copy.
Yeah,
Is it?
I have like a kind of a not so great scan from the call, but if you could send me the whatever, we can post it.
Yeah. So this will be posted in our minutes as well. That'd be helpful.
But I guess just for the purposes of the recording, if you go to the town's homepage, the town meeting call is right on the landing page.
Yep.
And it's all linked there, so that we'll add it, but it is posted now.
Yeah. So anyway, did I miss anything?
No, I think it gives it some good explanation.
Well, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No, I mean, it's a stack tax. I'm thinking here to make it seem a little bit more friendly.
Yeah,
Is it actually a business tax stabilization?
yes, commercial.
Would it be smarter not smarter?
I asked that, Peter, and you really shouldn't amend once you make the call. Because I had asked if we could adjust the thing to just call it a property assessment stabilization ordinance.
Yeah.
But once the call goes out to have the town meeting, sort of like more restrictive version of the public hearing, they can't make amendments.
Yeah.
They don't wanna make amendments to it at that point, sort of on the fly, cause that was my exact thought.
Hi, Rob.
You're up.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I'm here. I have a question about the graph that you presented,
Sure.
and I'm assuming that this tax stabilization. Well, it's a two-part question. Part one, does the assessor regularly revalue depreciating assets that consist of business personal property?
Now or under tax stabilization?
No, now, currently. What's the
Yes.
frequency of that? Is that frequency ever, does that
I don't-
coincide with reval, or is that something that's done on a regular basis?
I don't-
Personal properties are declared by the business owner annually. So
Okay.
it's reactive, whereas reval is proactive.
Understood. The depreciated, the straight line depreciation applies only to that personal property, correct?
Straight line, I'm not sure.
So like you're not talking.
Under the current taxation. You're showing it decreasing from some value to zero. Now,
Yeah.
that can only apply to specific assets of personal property and not real estate.
That's correct. And it trails off, it trails off at the very end. So yeah, it may not even reach absolute zero.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's still scrap value, you know.
The other thing that is going to come into play, I think, when you're dealing with a prospective development is that instantaneous increase in assessment when a zone change is granted for a proposed project. And that's where I think there's some wheeling and dealing that could happen with respect to that dramatic increase in tax on a particular parcel, particularly if the development hasn't gone forward. That happened with Love's to the folks who owned that property before Love's got their special permit. So they were languishing for a couple of years, paying exorbitant taxes on land that wasn't being used for what it was being taxed for. And I think that's another aspect of a tax equalization issue that I think the town should consider, depending upon the duration of the application permitting process.
That's interesting. That's true, because you would have significant increase in value and whoever's holding that property before it moves. That's a good observation, but it's something we should consider. I mean, they didn't do anything to change this. All they did was apply to make a regulatory change and their taxes shoot up.
The other thing that I think you need to look a little bit more careful at is back to business personal property. Yes, it depreciates over time, certain assets. But I don't think they ever go to zero.
I'll change the chart. I mean, you know.
No,
you're right.
I would see that under the current way of taxing. I see that line more as a sawtooth rather than a straight line depreciation. Because as things get replaced, value goes up. It decreases. They replace something, the value goes up. You know, under the current taxation. So
Yeah, I mean,
somehow you're trying to smooth out that sawtooth, if you will, so that their taxation is predictable, yet we're still collecting over the period of time the same amount of money with it equalized as we would be if we just left things as is.
Yep.
Okay, sorry to dig into some minutia here, but I think it's some important considerations.
okay, thank you, Ralph. I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks for letting me speak.
it's a calculus problem we're looking at here right now, you'll understand that. But I think that this is something that's much more complicated. And there's too many facets to just like solve right here. I'm wondering, how about the assessor? And what about the Board of Finance here? How are their inputs put into this? And they might have insight as to, because Ralph is right, it's going to be a series of steps, you know, or blips in the curve somehow. But how they work in, I don't know. I think we need to hear from more people, very honestly. Yeah. This is,
Well, it is something that's done, I can tell you.
yeah,
Our experience in town of Boston. We were constantly making improvements not only to the building, but in our equipment. And you go through the same process as you buy a new car.
yes, yes, I understand.
It basically says if you wanna be in, if you wanna bring business to town, or if you wanna do business in town. These are things that are out there that are not hard to manage, once you say, we're gonna do this. We're gonna put this in place.
Even with the blips improving, you know, and your assessments go down, sir, the business overall will be a straight line. If not exactly the same amount, but within the same range or something.
Yeah, but you weren't able, we're talking about 10 minutes ago with regards to if the business is successful and expand. And starts putting more capital into building out equipment or insert whatever, that will also be taxed. It's not something that's, it's there to make it successful, especially in the beginning of the project. And
So
then,
you're smoothing out that payment that they would have had at the beginning, making it easier to get started on the business. And pay some of that down, but in addition, there are other things gonna go on at the same time, okay.
if we can help you be successful, it's gonna benefit us too.
Yes, oh, yes,
Yeah.
oh, yes.
James, go ahead. Do you have a comment?
Yeah, hi guys, thanks. I was gonna save it till the end, but you seem to be entertaining discussion now. Jim Marshall, 46 Fisher Hill Road. I think this is, I don't know, maybe a curse or a blessing, but as is the case, you know, when this actually gets, when items like this actually get posted, they actually garner attention. Whereas I know this has been out in the nebulous, for discussion for over a year or so now. But now that it's actually a town meeting call, I think people are starting to pay attention. So that's a good thing because it's raising conversation and awareness. And I think in some form or fashion, tax stabilization policy or the ability to enter into them are potentially advantageous for the town, which is great. With that said, what I'm hearing even tonight, there appear to be many more questions than there are answers. Or several open questions about what the potential impacts of this policy may be, both in short-term, long-term tax revenue, even what the naming of the policy may be, whether that'll lead to confusion. And I think that's why it's a good thing that it's, you know, it's getting the attention now. But these are all questions that I really think need to be addressed and need to be answered prior to this becoming policy at town meeting. I think more robust discussions with the Board of Finance and the business office, either joint meetings or I don't know how you guys entertain it, but I know it has been brought to the Board of Finance formally as the body that actually really informs and influences tax policy here in town. I think as written, there's way too many unknowns and way too few protections, or innate protections, similar to other regulations that we've tried to pass recently in town. But I think we need to define what the parameters may be that would allow the Board of Selectmen and or the Board of Finance, if we can get them in there as approvers, what types of projects would be considered advantageous for Willington to enter into a tax stabilization agreement? Better definition on how the assessment is entertained, because as written, yes, I mean, it's leveled over a 30-year period, but we're gonna find we don't have the expertise in many cases of properly evaluating what depreciation may be over time, what what any particular project's inherent asset or value may be initially, particularly with some of these specialized facilities like battery farms, solar facilities, even more specialty construction type projects with heavy equipment, not necessarily real estate, but like integral equipment and personal property. They can be very tough to define, and quite frankly, the people developing these projects are going to be the most informed to make any potential agreement more advantageous. So while there is, I think, a lot of potential draw for having a policy, I think the downsides can also be very are very important and really need a lot much more further thought by a larger group of people, quite frankly. And I know obviously we're all volunteers, but I think there needs to be a much more robust community discussion before and further clarification and supporting language or supporting guidance to go along with this new tax stabilization ordinance before it becomes actual policy. So, I don't know. Keep the discussions up. We're heading in the right direction somehow. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you.
I would think that if this is gonna go public, the presentation, I would eliminate the y-axis, the numbers. Because the problem is what it's missing, which we can't talk about because we won't know the answer ever, is the agreed upon value. So we're saying, the value is X, so your payment year one is 140 and it declines to something over there. That involves a discussion where we agree on the assessed value and the assessor looks at all those things. So I think I would just eliminate that, right? Because in year one, you're gonna pay this much, and in year 20, you're gonna pay this much.
Just put a dollar sign.
Yeah, I mean, payments to be made, to me, when people look at that graph, the first thing they're gonna look at is, oh, they're gonna pay 120 in year one, and they're gonna pay 60 in year, and they start thinking about the numbers, and that then means something to them. But I think really the graph shows exactly what it's supposed to, which is without the stabilization in year one, you pay a lot, and then it declines sharply. So I think that it's, at least in my mind, that's what you're trying to get across. Or slide those numbers up so that the top value is, let's say, 200 or 250, and the bottom value is 60 or 100.
Oh,
to show that you never actually get to zero.
Right, which is Ralph's point, yeah.
But again, I'm worried that people see the number and they start thinking that number connects to a specific
Not
project.
the idea, but the actual physical value.
Yeah, because you have to get to the end of the line, you have to have your permits, you have to be ready to build. And say, I'm gonna build this, and I have a permit to build that thing, and here's all the plans, and here's the value for the assessor to be able to assign something, which then you can negotiate. What do we think it's worth?
To James's point, certain personal properties gonna have steeper depreciation schedules than other ones, depending on specialization and things of that nature.
But the agreement doesn't obligate the town to actually enter into a stabilization on the personal property. Could fix the real estate.
No obligation.
Because there are certain state exemptions for real estate, manufacturing equipment, for example, is exempt, we can't tax that no matter what. So if that's the type of business we're talking about, they're not going to come in and be paying on that, like aerospace equipment, all those things are, if it's a medical building, yes.
Do you have another comment, James, or is your hand still up?
I think it's still up. I don't think I lowered it.
Yep, still up. Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Thank-
Okay, good conversation, that's great. Yeah, in general, I'd love to have more higher, bigger, robuster conversation, we're all volunteers, we reached out to, as broad a group as we could, I guess, but, actually, the Board of Finance has a role in this as well, so there's three different parts to the ordinance. One part is for business only, and that has to do with Board of Selectmen would be the approving authority. And then for the second option, I think it's the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance. And for the third one, I think it is, I don't know. I can't remember, I'll have to find it. I apologize for not being prepared.
Town meeting.
Town meeting, right. Yeah, oh, first one is town meeting, and that would actually apply to the battery thing, which would be our first test case. So option one, part one. The terms of the tax stabilization agreement are approved by the town's legislative body, which is town meeting. So. And anyway, okay. That was good. So we will move now. Have you guys have any other stuff you want to talk about in regards to this? No, good. South Willington sidewalk project.
Can't remember what update I gave last, I think there are 3 departments at DOT that need to review. Long story short, the 3rd department has completely shifted their entire perspective on the project. And has decided to make it wildly complicated. So I have spent a lot of time boiling things down as concisely as possible and working my way up the food chain to someone that is in a position to decide what perspective they're going to take officially. It has been a week and a half or 2 weeks and I have not heard back from him as far as what he's gonna do, but my position is that the state has moved the goalpost. We have made it clear what we intend to construct for almost 4 years. We've spent $27,000 designing and worked on all the necessary professional services to have that project established the way that it was approved by CROG when it was decided to receive the funding. We're not spending any more money on redesigning the project. If DOT wants to change the design, then they can certainly redesign it. But I am not going to the Board of Finance to ask for more money to redesign a project that we have been revising and working towards construction for the last 3.5 years. I am just not doing it. So I was very clear, this is gonna be a very big issue financially and politically. There are people farther up the food chain than the folks in the town hall here that are interested in. I really would have liked to avoid headaches for all parties involved, but at the same time, what are we supposed to do? You've changed your perspective way late in the game, and we can't do that in municipal and local government. So I don't know why the state should be able to.
So what's the next step?
So I basically told him that, and I said, I'm looking for an opportunity to talk to you about this in greater detail, not to talk about alternatives. I want to talk to you about where we are and how we go forward. Because they seem to offer up, well, we would offer this up as an alternative, which we would support. Well, that's great, but I still have to have someone design that. So I will give it through the end of this week and we're gonna have to then just keep pushing.
I reached out to Jeff Gordon, as you know.
And Tammy, yep.
And
And I told him, I said, this is gonna be taken out of my hands at some point, and it's gonna get far more complicated for everybody. We just want to be able to construct the project that we said we were gonna do, we designed, we've done a public outreach on, right, we've done everything. Now you're saying at the 11th hour, the DOT's new snowplows are too wide and we have concerns, and so therefore we don't want this to be constructed as designed.
And why no roads then?
Not, also, not, that is, in my mind, when we're talking about pedestrian infrastructure project in front of a school, the width of the DOT's newest snow plowing fleet is not my concern.
and speaking to the school zone.
Right.
Plow is not the major issue here either.
And I said, you know, if you want to rewind the tape several years to when the DOT denied the town's request to reduce the speed limit on South Willington, then we can talk about that too. But like, it's hard to deal with DOT. They hide behind a lot of layers of, you know, you never know who you're dealing with, and it's never the same person
I
twice.
mean, a firm letter is also nice to be able to have in hand when going to these things. I mean, you know. Maybe if we don't want to have a powwow meeting as of yet and try and hold the feet to the fire, we can at least have evidence of interest from, you know, our representatives.
Yeah, I indicated that that's where things were headed, and that once that once we sort of moved into that realm of things, it was gonna get far more complicated and,
I mean, it's just disappointing. I mean, you know,
yeah.
the speed of government is the speed of drying paint.
It's interesting how they try to say the width of their plows too, because all the other construction companies that we subcontract out to help take care of 32 and all these.
Yeah.
Pretty sure their plows haven't changed in 20 years other than the cutting edge.
Yeah.
So
It's,
naturally, the wheel needs to get reinvented to do the same job, and that's what they're.
yeah, so I mean, he was very honest and open about the fact that he has a lot of concerns with the fact that the prior departments were saying basically it was good to go. And that now he, you know, they're changing their mind. He acknowledges that, but not to the point where they feel like they have any responsibility to allow us to continue the project in the way it was designed. So you have engineering at DOT said it's okay. Traffic at DOT says it's okay. And now it's going to the last step, which is their maintenance division, who is saying that they don't like the way it's designed because they have concerns about the lane widths, which are designed in accordance with the Highway Design Manual, as determined by the Federal Highways Association. So we didn't just do this however, it's all lane width, sight lines, everything is designed in accordance with the Highway Design Manual.
So do you have anything in writing indicating that the reason is the width of the snowplow?
Yeah, you sent it to me in writing and oh yeah, I still have it, because,
Well, I mean, I don't know, because I don't think it does any good to talk further. I mean, let's get our representatives involved. I mean, the state can't go and approve something and say, yes, this is good, we're ready to go.
Mhm.
And then turn around and at the last minute say, no, redesign it.
That's exactly what I said. In here locally, it's something called municipal estoppel. I told you yes, I'm changing my mind. For one reason or another, the answer is now no. If someone proceeds in good faith and they endeavor to complete something, they spend money, they spend time, and you then move the goalpost, that's estoppel. We cannot do that.
Yes.
DOT might say, well, we can, you know, go pound sand, but, so
Alright,
yeah, we'll give it a few more days and then we will have to resort to other alternatives, I guess.
Okay.
I will let you know.
Being nosy, I should say, John Taraskowitz, 50 Liska.
No, thank you.
Didn't it ever occur to the state that most of the towns, particularly in the rural areas, the roads are that size? And why didn't they buy the plows that will fit on the roads?
Hmm.
I mean, this is backwards. You know, if you wanna buy a larger plow and you wanna use it on an interstate, maybe that would work. But how many thousands of miles of roads do they have that those darn plows won't be as safe on? Donk, you know? It's incredible, incredible.
Yes. By the way, moving off of our agenda for a moment,
Yeah,
how's it going with the new appointment?
pardon?
The new appointment to the regional.
I haven't heard anything from the regional.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
waiting.
I was curious. I saw you
if-
came in and I'm like, oh, no.
If there is no objection from any of you, I will ask Peter to appoint me to the EDC.
Oh,
But if that isn't convenient to you, I want to know because I don't want to, I don't want to rain on anybody's parade.
that's okay.
So I will ask him.
Very nice.
So that I can do some more work. I'm waiting to hear, I really thought that in September, there's 4 meetings a year, I thought it would be in September, so I have to go out online and look and see what's going on. So,
Okay.
who knows?
You know, as we can tell, the wheel of government moves slow.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I have a dinner coming up with a bunch of women from Ashford that are very involved in this aspect. So I'm hoping one of them is on the tourism.
oh, good. So I think we have 2 minutes or two sets of minutes or 3 sets of minutes.
Should just have the August one before.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have 3 copies of the same thing, okay. Quick, edit that too, all right. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the Economic Development Commission special meeting Thursday, August 14th, 2025 at 6 P.M.
Motion to accept minutes as is. Nice job, John.
Yeah, he had to jump.
Second step? All right, and all those in favor of accepting minutes as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, none, ayes have it, minutes are approved. I think that completes business, commission business, public participation. Any public participation at the end of our meeting? Ralph and Marshall's, excuse me, James and Bonnie. The guy has two first names, you know. I didn't mean that. So, and, okay, and then we will move, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Seconded. All right, you're going to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
You seconded, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we are all set. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending.